What's up, peeps? This is Nick Johnson, your favorite sports YouTube journalist, back in here with one more video. And I'm going to talk some news that just transpired like a couple hours ago. Now, before I get started, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to hit that bell com button where you can get my updates and when I'm going to upload my next video. I'm going to give y'all a second to do that. And let's get started. Now, the news happened in football, and it was reported that former Defensive Player of the Year, former League MVP runner-up, and hailed as one of the best pass rushers for the last decade, in the name of J.J. Watt, has reportedly signed a 2-year deal with the Arizona Cardinals. And the deal is reported to be about $31 million. It's a 2-year deal worth $31 million for J.J. Watt to join the Arizona Cardinals, therefore reuniting him with his former Texans co-star, DeAndre Hopkins, their wide receiver for Arizona. Now we got to this point. It was that earlier last month, like sometime after the Super Bowl, is when Watt had asked the Houston Texans organization to be released from his contract, saving them from burden of probably getting traded and whatnot due to his value and nobody taking on that contract. Plus, he wanted to leave Houston due to their cultural ideas being an absolute mess. Because right now, everything in Houston has been an absolute mess. Hell, you basically seeing exactly what's happening with Deshaun Watson over there. And the way that the Texans have handled certain roster moves for the last several years under the failed Bill O'Brien regime. I mean, yes, Bill O'Brien took the team to a couple playoff trips, but what has he done from that? He really hasn't built a consistent roster on top of that, and that's the problem. You're trying to build something foundational here. You didn't even at least get to an AFC title game. Plus, your questionable moves have really, really sealed the fate of this team. Seriously. Hence the reason why Watt wanted to be released. Now, we all remember J.J. Watt. For the last decade, he was one of the top premier pass rushers in the NFL and was hailed as one of the top 10 players of the league at one point. He was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He once led the league in sacks with 20 and a half. It was like a race between him and former San Francisco 49ers linebacker Aldon Smith, who was going to lead the most sacks. And, of course, who was going to chase the long-standing record of 21 and a half sacks, or 22 sacks, set by Michael Strahan, Hall of Fame defensive end for the New York Giants, that he set back in 2001. And, of course, Watt finished with 20 and a half, and Aldon Smith finished with 19 and a half. So both finished a couple sacks shy each of the all-time sack record. But it was expected, so ain't nobody touching that. And, I mean, let's just be honest here. And he was one of the top 10 players in the league for pretty much the majority of the decade. But his career has also at times been derailed by the injury bug. Like a torn ACL, torn pectoral, torn Achilles, like you name it. And he's, especially in 3 of the last 5 seasons, he's been hampered with the injury bug. So injuries tend to kill a man's career, especially affect his play, his value, his contract, and basically regressed him to like a washed up version of himself, And that's what J.J. Watt has been reduced to. I'm sad to say that, but it's actually true. We've all seen it. We've seen it to happen to players of his caliber. And of course, I mean, at times, yeah, you used to have players that have produced great, amazing comeback years and probably build on from there, but it just basically, reduced him to little or nothing, or just above average at the very least, And it is what it is. Plus the questionable moves and the lack of building together a true dynamic team that can actually build a dynasty for the last several years has really sealed the J.J. Watt's exit from Houston. For example, the Texans questionably fired their previous general manager before Bill O'Brien took the role. Under him, he got fired for no reason. And then head coach Bill O'Brien, who's been head coach for Houston since 2012, was promoted to general manager a couple years ago, which has now become a head scratcher, thinking that they trust him more than the one that they fired. And next thing you know, there's been a couple head scratchers. You let AJ Boye walk. You traded away Jadeveon Clowney, your best pass rusher. I mean, yeah, he had a down year in Seattle, and then not so impressive whatsoever in Tennessee. But still, that was one of your best players. Yeah, he was derailed by the injury bug himself, but he was turning a corner at the very least. And of course, you weren't willing to pay him, which I can understand, but you also have to understand the level of importance of building a competitive franchise to at least compete for a Super Bowl title. You traded him away. Then you completed arguably the dumbest head scratcher of a trade I've ever seen in my life. You traded away your star wideout in DeAndre Hopkins, who's given you every single ounce of blood, sweat, and tears that he's had done for your organization since he's been there, since you drafted him. And you traded him away to the Arizona Cardinals for a washed-up version of David Johnson and a measly second-round pick. When you know damn well DeAndre was a hell of a lot more than just a second-round pick and a running back who's just basically reduced to a shell of his former self in his early years with Arizona. It's just sad when you think about it. It's just so sad. Like, and now you were trying to replace him with a quartet or a trio of Will. When you had Will Fuller, he was still good until he got suspended. And traded for Brandon Cooks, signing Randall Cobb, and then even brought in Kenny Stills. And it still didn't work out. And the result has got you into an 0-4 or 0-5 start, and they fired Bill O'Brien finally when he should have been fired long ago. And still didn't even improve much because the Texans still finished with a 4-12 record last season, and still nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. That proves to you how much of a disaster that this organization really is. And it's just sad to say that if you're a Texans fan, you probably just want to cut bait on the organization and just hope that they can tear it down and start over. And give Deshaun Watson a chance to win. Because you're just basically wasting his talent and hopefully and pretty much on the verge of wasting his prime years. And that's a problem. To me, that's a problem. It needs to be solved quick, fast, and in a hurry. There's no excuse for that. Seriously, there is no excuse for that. So that's the scenario with J.J. Watt and why he wanted to leave. He granted for his release. They did right by him for once. And now he's signing with the NFC West Division Club, who was on the verge of making the playoffs until they kind of squandered in the final 2 or 3 games of the season. So with him, he reunites with his former teammate Hopkins and has a better chance of being on a competitive football team than he was in Houston. So, and the NFC West in the NFC is one of the most toughest divisions that you can ever think of. Of course, we all remember it being trash back in 2010, but now it's risen up to be one of the toughest divisions in the league. You got, of course, Arizona, which he signed to. You got San Francisco, who's hoping to rebound after an underwhelming last season, after making the Super Bowl the year before. You have the LA Rams, and you have the Seattle Seahawks. It's a tough division, and I'm looking to see exactly where this can go. And who knows? Maybe it'll finally be the year that Arizona would finally break through the wins, and in a pivotal third year for head coach Cliff Kingsbury, they can be able to, have all those pieces put together finally, and take it up a notch at least, Hell, you got a premier, and for the Cardinals, you got like a really good premier pass rusher. I mean, no longer the guy that he once was, but he could still generate a lot of pressure. He had 5 sacks last year, but he generates a lot of QB pressure. And he could still be the most critical piece to getting to the quarterback and generate the most lethal pass rush in the league. Because you have him and you have Chandler Jones, who Steve Keim, their general manager, basically said that he was not going to release Chandler Jones despite the fact that he accounts for most of the salary and he was likely a potential to be cut. Steve Keim does not want to do that, and since because of the Watt signing, they're now up against the salary cap. This is going to be a salary cap casualty. And with the fact that the salary cap is now decreased to like $180 million as a result of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, which basically reduced to limited capacity or no fans at all, the revenue has dropped significantly, which also in turn drops the salary cap significantly. So, big drop off, and it's going to be a really hard off season for teams to at least make a run and pitch at getting the best big names available. So, unless you have certain teams that have a huge amount of cap space, that's just as far as it can go, So, but with that being said, JJ Watt, I think, is a big addition. It can bolster the defense by quite a bit and improve their pass rush just a bit. So, you have Chandler Jones, you have JJ Watt, you have a young Isaiah Simmons, who I thought had a good rookie season. And a secondary that's kind of left to be desired because Patrick Peterson's no longer the corner that he once was. Buda Baker, I love this guy's development. Hopefully he can continue to build on from there. And we'll see how that goes. And the offense, it looks to be really top-notch, in my view. DeAndre Hopkins, great toy for Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, who could still provide the running game, even though he had kind of like a down year in a way last year, but still could provide that stability. So I'm looking forward to see how this goes. JJ Watt to the Cardinals. Good luck to you, dude. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Make sure to hit the if you like the video, hit that like button. If you want to see more of my content, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to keep up when I'm going to upload my next video, hit that bell icon button where you can keep yourself updated when I'm going to upload my next video. And let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Think it's a good move? Do you think it's bad? Let me know. And with that being said, I'm Nick Johnson, your favorite sports YouTube journalist, and I'm out. Peace.